Hello, and welcome
Hello.
back
Hi.
to Zero Strategy Podcast, episode 39. We hope you guys are doing well today. Happy New Year.
First
We've
podcast of the year.
First podcast of the year. That's right. We hope you all had a good one, had a safe and fun New Year's. Lots to talk about today, so we're going to jump straight in. Also, I should mention, if you have any questions for us or anything that you think is relevant to what we're discussing, please feel free to throw it into the chat and at one of us so that we can see it nice and clearly. I'm joined today by my co-hosts, the Cyber Project.
Hello.
And Grog Mode.
Hello.
So we'll do a brief catch up. Cyber, how was your New Year's and what you been up to?
It was messy, hence why I'm still hydrating, because I feel okay, but I'm pretty sure I'm still hungover. I played beer pong for 4 hours, and it was kind of a bad idea, so we're not gonna go into it. And it wasn't piss water; it was good beer as well. So fuck knows what we were thinking. Me and Mary had a tandem puke off where I was puking in the sink, she was puking outside through the window.
Oh my god.
So that's how messy we were. Apart from that, I've just been taking it easy. Obviously, had that stream yesterday with you. GTFO, an amazing game, a lot of fun actually. I expected less carnage, but I was pleasantly surprised that there was a lot of carnage. And I have got my mind focused 100% on 2021. Got a stream book, gonna write all my ideas in this, and it's gonna be here no matter what. So focused for 2021, and just excited for the year ahead. 2020 can fuck off.
All right, good stuff. Grog, what about yourself?
I am still alive.
Hey.
No, hey.
You did it.
I did it. No, things are kind of just steering the same course they have been. Doing a lot of Call of Duty content. Really enjoying the fuck out of this game that I've been playing with Lauren on the weekends. Call of the Sea. I would recommend it to any. It's not super deep or complex, but like it's just a fun puzzle game. And if you like puzzle games that are kind of hard, there's bits in there where like it seems pretty obvious, and then you'll go up to the next one and you're like, oh my god, I don't know what the fuck to do. But visually it looks very, very pretty. I'm just having a good time playing some stuff that aren't shooter games. So yeah, we've got some other things lined up in the future. But right now, just kind of like still playing Warzone, all that good stuff.
Nice.
What about you, Condi?
Yeah, I mean, much the same. New Year, we ended up streaming right up to midnight.
I wish I could watch the VOD.
Listen, I had to delete the VOD because I didn't want to get the dreaded DMCA. So I deleted the VOD, just like I deleted the last time, because I've been playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it has music in it that
I was
I
quite
just don't
excited to
trust.
watch it though, because it looked good. Like it looked like a good time.
What,
And
the
then
Millionaire?
Just like your New Year's stream.
Oh, it was chaos, man. We just did so many different things. I just jumped from game to game to game all night. But it was fun. I was playing Valorant at like 1 o'clock in the morning after a whole bottle of champagne and some beers.
At least there wasn't any rum.
Yeah, there was no rum. But it was good. I had a really, really good time. And like, you know, I couldn't get out and obviously celebrate like our tradition amongst like my friend group from like the school days is they have like a flat in Glasgow, and we usually go through and we all just hang out and play shitty board games, and you know, we go for a nice dinner and then we have a few drinks and we all just kind of crash through their place, and we've done that for years. So it was weird this being the first year where we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you know, I got to spend it on Twitch, which was a nice time. So I'm glad I had a nice fun New Year. Even if at the Bells I had some like party poppers like to pull to celebrate, and I'd arranged with Dale because we had them in the house, and I was like, I'm gonna set these off at midnight, it'll be fun, you should come in at midnight and we'll do some party poppers and everything. And then Dale, out of fucking nowhere, shows up with a can of silly string. I think I still have it in here somewhere. This funny string, sorry, and just sprayed it everywhere. I'm still finding bits of it in the carpet. It was all over my chair, all over my clothes and my beard. So That was fun.
It wasn't really worth making a second comment on your Twitter post, but I noticed when I re-looked at your photo of your office and just seeing that shit like ground into the carpet, that the one wheel of your chair, it had just like
Yeah.
been like caked
Soaked it
and
all up.
rolled through. Yeah. So you just had it like tangled all around the wheels. Like, that's gonna be a bitch to clean.
Yeah, dude, it was. I went in with the Hoover the next morning, like feeling a little hungover, and just tried to clean it all, but like I'm still finding bits of it. So, not best pleased with that, but it was a fun night. It was a fun night. And then yeah, I've just been kind of jumping around over the place, still playing Cyberpunk, enjoying that game a lot. People are still getting super frustrated at me because I don't pay attention and I just kind of run about with a sword. And then yeah, we played GTFO yesterday, which was great, and I'm actually
Oh.
dying to play more of that.
It's so
So
much fun.
What's the deal with that game?
It is a multiplayer horror survival or survival horror game.
Okay.
So
It's an objective-based survival game.
yeah,
So, depending on what map you play, you'll have a very specific objective to complete. But in order to complete that, you need to go through certain zones that are usually gatekept, and you have to do certain things to get through them, either explore or fight certain monsters. And you've got like different options. You could either like pussy out and go the extremely difficult route, or you could take on the challenge of like certain death. So it's
yeah.
either you're gonna die or you're gonna die like a champion.
But it's really really
Um,
fun. And once we got our team strategy down, we did okay. But
Yep.
it took a few horrible deaths before we got there.
Oh. The one thing that I will say that I really enjoyed yesterday was the fact that at no point did either of us get angry at each other. We had banter, but we never got angry. We just accepted the game for what it was and just had a shitload of fun. And that's why I want to play it again.
Yeah, absolutely. We all went in completely, more or less, just unaware of what to expect. And I mean, clearly, there was a lot of experts showed up in my stream that
Oh,
knew every single corner and every single enemy spawn. So like,
when I
clearly,
was
there is
still in my intro screen, someone showed up and I was
there's
like,
there's clearly a community that is invested in that game, which I didn't really expect and didn't really know. I mean, I've heard of the game, but there was a lot of people kind of came out of the woodwork that really seemed to really know this game, which surprised me. So I guess it must be pretty popular within that community.
yeah.
But yeah, I want to play more. I think it would be really fun.
It's a lot of
Anyway,
fun.
we got some Twitch stuff to talk about. So, well, you had a couple. Do you want to start us off, Cyber?
So one thing that I have been noticing on social media recently is with Twitch's new policies and guidelines with bullying, um, sensitive images, and all that kind of stuff. There has been a wave of people that have had pre-existing emotes that have already been 100% approved and even been used for like 2 or 3 years. They've actually been removed, which is kind of interesting. There's been certain instances that I've seen where people, after the emote's been approved, Twitch, somebody within Twitch has contacted them and said, by the way, like we've done another manual review on this. We don't think it's right. Can you change it to suit the new guidelines? And then with the new ones coming out, they've straight up just removed them completely. It usually deals with butts. Um, like
There's a lot of
just
butt emotes on Twitch. Yeah.
a lot of bot emotes. I have seen a wave of like simp emotes being removed. And I think it's kind of interesting that they've decided that they're kind of reneging on some of the things that they've been saying. It was my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it was already pre-approved, it should have went through a manual process.
Do you
Right.
mean for emotes?
Yeah.
I believe they immediately said we're going to be not allowing that as emotes. So my understanding when they announced it was that emotes would be targeted and removed if they featured those words. What they were saying was though that if there was a clip of me 6 months ago calling someone a simp, then I couldn't be in trouble for that because that clip took place before the new guidelines came in.
But I'm talking like specifically like the emotes.
Yeah, I didn't get that impression with emotes. I thought it was like, hey, all emotes that reference simp will be removed. But maybe I've misunderstood. I honestly don't know.
So what's wild to me is in reference to this coming up, Cyber posted in a chat that we all have for the podcast, and he posted a picture that someone had put on Twitter with the notification that they got from Twitch, showing that one of their emotes were removed, and it's just, I mean, it's a very well rendered picture of an ass, but it's an ass clearly in like some sort of like unitard, leotard, whatever. There's no actual
Like
nude
nudity.
skin. However, it is the unitard is very flesh toned, but really I mean, to be fair, it's a great looking ass. But here's what gets me. The reason why I bring this up is on the notification that they got, it says reason disallowed content, imagery of sexual content or nudity, i.e., quote, gasm style emotes which contain sexualized torsos or bodily fluids. But here's the thing, they fucking have an emote, a universal emote for Twitch called gasm,
Yeah.
Yep.
craygasm. Like it's just like you, and like it's also a bit an animated bit emote. Like at one point they fucking embraced this level of like kind of childish humor. I mean, because really, like having this emote of a ripe tush like is, you know, it's just like to titillate and giggle about, and like it's, I mean, there's nothing offensive in the emote in question, but like it's just like you guys were on board with this. We all make dick jokes and butt jokes and, you know, talking about people's hoo-has. I just don't understand, like now I don't know,
I
it's
actually
like it's
forgot.
not actual nude content.
I forgot. Humps actually had that emote.
Did he?
Look in chat what Ginger posted. His gasm emote.
Oh
And
yeah.
as Kibbles just pointed out, the Craigasm emote, like if you know the story behind it, like is even
Exactly.
yeah, is even more
The clip's out there if
yeah.
you want to look, and it's not hard to find. I had the same conversation maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, and literally a quick Google search, the first thing that pops up is the actual clip.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like what Grog said, they have reneged on quite a lot of the like core things. A lot of those emotes came from like pivotal points in Twitch's history. There's a lot of emotes there that if you Google them, it's what Twitch represents for a lot of people. And the fact that the targeting emotes like this now, I just don't get it. I don't understand what it's gonna solve. There's a lot of things like how is a bot emote gonna stop people from bullying and stop sexual content on Twitch? Like I just don't understand the reasoning behind it.
I don't know about you, but a 112 by 112 pixel, like, you know, icon really gets me going. I zoom in there,
I'm
I
not gonna
try and
kink
get
shame.
I try and get up into every single pixel. Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's fucking, it's like the point that you raised earlier, the fact that all of these are manually reviewed when you first send them in. Like sub badges aren't. Just for clarification for anyone in chat or anyone listening who doesn't know, when you make a sub badge for your channel, once you hit affiliate, or if you're, you know, affiliate and you go to partner and you make a new sub badge, like those are not reviewed. They're instantaneous now, at least within the last year. They have been, because they are not site wide. You can still be reported for an inappropriate sub badge, but in terms of showing off those 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 9 month subscribers, and so on, like you can just make anything you want, no review. Um, every other emote, like prior to, because remember we covered on the podcast last year how now if you have been, what was it, Condi, if you've been affiliate for more than 2 months,
I
you
think
can
it's
now automatic,
I
is
think
it
it's 90 days, something like that.
Yep.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
but there is a grace period where after that you can just then upload emotes and they're not subject to review. But prior, their old policy was you had to wait. It might take a day, it might take 2 weeks, it might take a month. I mean, when people were hitting affiliate and or uploading new emotes after they unlocked a new slot, you know, people would like message each other and be like, are you still waiting on yours?
Yeah.
Like, and it would just be like, yeah, mine went through in like 4 days. Like mine hasn't gone through in like
Mine's been 6 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So I just, it is a little wild to me that any emote that was in existence prior to the shift in policy that was subject to manual review prior to the changes that happened in mid 2020, that those should be then subject to a retroactive takedown because they already met the T's and C's of what was allowed to be on the platform. Now, granted, they can change the policy at any time. And so, they're making policy updates now, and that's kind of the point. That just because something was in existence before doesn't mean that it's okay now. But it does feel a little strange to me seeing this person get like a takedown notice of their emote. And again, it's an illustrated, not photographic portrayal of a butt, like a tight, firm butt, and like a leotard. And there's no actual sexual content. People have butts. Some are very nice.
Like mine.
And yeah. And like, it's just like, I don't understand because then in their own text, they're saying, like, oh, well, gasm style emotes aren't cool. And it's like, you fucking have one. You have one for the platform. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And
Weird.
we've talked about it before, but like the emotes are not immune to this because they're going to start getting removed for DMCA at some point too. Like copyright is going to be a thing with emotes. It's already in your sort of TOS when you make affiliate and you upload your emotes. They make it clear that, hey, like this should not be copyright material. But I mean, I've seen plenty of people that have their own versions of like Pokemon emotes or emotes with characters from games, which I don't imagine that a game studio is going to start striking channels for using their characters. I don't
They
see
will
that
when they hear
happening. But
this.
well,
They
I
will
don't
when
know.
they find out about it.
But it's we've been saying for a while that emotes are the next thing that are going to start being targeted. They've targeted our audio that we're listening to. That's obviously still an ongoing thing. Emotes will be next, 100%. So
Nixie actually makes a good point as well. If they remove an emote because of the community guidelines, you do actually lose your ability to upload without review, which is going to be very interesting because if you can remember the turmoil that you had this brand new emote that either got made or you made it yourself, and you had to wait 5, 6, 7, 2 months, however long it would take to actually get that emote on the platform. It's like going back to fire when you've had nuclear power for the last like
yeah, it's interesting. I also see someone asking what's the deal with third party emotes. I actually don't know what would happen there. I guess Twitch would still have some kind of control to allow or remove those emotes, but it would go through the third party because we're talking like Better Twitch TV, things like that. I assume Twitch would go directly to them to block any emotes.
Yeah, well, I think they would have the ability to block them anyway. They still use Twitch's UI, so they could just revoke that. They could either say remove them or we're gonna revoke your access to our UI.
Hmm.
I don't. God knows.
Yeah.
They could do whatever the fuck they want at this point.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely more to come. I don't think this is. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that in regards to any emotes, like setting aside those that are showing butts or boobs or whatever, but obviously like they're clothed and they're not actually showing nudity, but like the emphasis is on a body part. Um, I think that any emotes that are featuring like Pokemon, Sonic, Baby Yoda, you name it, like if it's a licensed character, I think that people will still be relatively fine with that as long as they're not in a position where they're going to run afoul of misrepresenting that character in a way that I'm not saying that you should go out and this is your free pass to like, go put a Baby Yoda emote on your channel. But I think generally companies are going to take umbrage if you're using that character in a way that is either A, you're monetizing it for profit, which emotes, let's be honest. I mean, yeah, you could make an argument that like by subbing to a channel, you get these emotes, therefore someone's making money off of it. But I mean, no one's I'm not subbing to a channel just for a one Baby Yoda emote. Like I think what it's going to come down to is if you see takedowns from companies for licensed characters, it's probably going to be because somebody is doing something rude or lewd with a licensed character, and that company doesn't want the character represented in that fashion. So, because you think about it too, it's like people will post cosplay pictures, and then they will also like sell cosplay, like they'll do high quality photographic, like they'll work with a photographer and like do these high quality photos, and they might like sell photos or they might sign photos. Like, you can make profit on other content. People do that lots of ways all the time. But it seems to be that, like, more often than not, the company is going to get involved when they see that content either making more money than it should, or if they see it being mishandled, quote unquote, whatever that means. um so I don't think pop culture emotes are going to go anywhere, and I
Mm.
don't think pop culture emotes are probably going to be struck down anytime soon. But the thing is that anything is subject to being struck down if it just gets reported. So I mean, you also have to ask yourself, like, some of these folks who've had emotes that, they met the T's and C's of, like, appropriate use on the platform, and it just showed a picture of a tush. Now, like, what's it going to be when, how did that come up? If it's not a new emote and your emote's now going bye-bye, like, someone reported your emote. Like, I don't think Twitch is going to sit down and just manually go through millions of emotes, pre-existing emotes, and manually review them out of nowhere. So
Yeah,
you also have to, it's
true.
like, that's, yeah, it sucks, because then it's someone in your community or someone adjacent to your community, like, reported your emote. And then, like, in the instance of somebody further up in chat, I think Nixie posted an emote of, like, yeah, from Addie's channel. It's like a butt. It's a robot butt. And it's like, that's not even a human butt. Is that inappropriate? Like, like, who
Yeah,
fucking knows?
it's interesting. Well,
Just
we're
someone
gonna
please
see.
think of the children.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with it, but something to keep in mind for sure. I wanted to briefly talk about the community boost feature, this new thing on Twitch. If you will give me a few minutes to kind of talk on my experience of it. So it's something we mentioned before, which is this new feature by Twitch where your community can pool their channel points to boost your channel, and it will be put in a quote highly visible part of Twitch, which I believe is like somewhere on the front page. So it's not in the main sort of scrolling wheel of channels that are on the front page, but it's somewhere promoted to people. Now, we saw examples previously where we were kind of told the way Twitch will do this is it will look at your kind of average viewership or your channel size and work out how many points to set this goal to. And I got an email saying, oh, you're in the beta. It'll happen sometime this month. And it took ages and ages and ages. And eventually it activated one day. And the goal was only 16,000 points. Each viewer can donate up to 2,000. You have 2 days to hit the goal. And like, I think we hit it in 10 minutes because it was like 8 people donated their points and then we hit the goal. Which to me seemed like a low goal of points. So I don't know if it's intended to be very easy to achieve. Because, I mean, if they give you a goal that you have 2 days to hit, it seems a bit broken if you can hit that goal in less than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, So in my experience, it said 16,000 points, you get 2,800 impressions. So that's when your boost activates. So we activated it, and on the first day, I noticed a substantial bump to viewership. I think the average, the concurrent viewership doubled for about 10 minutes and then went right back down again. Then weirdly, I got it again 2 weeks later, which it's supposed to be monthly.
Yeah.
The second time the boost happened, which was within December. So I got 2 within the month of December. I saw no noticeable difference in viewership at all, which is weird. And then it happened a third time yesterday. Now, each time it's been the same goal, the same amount of channel points, and the same amount of promotions or impressions, which leads me to believe that it seems like just a blanket number. And I don't know if that's while it's still in beta. I don't know if it is still in beta or not, or if this is kind of just rolling out now. But it seems to me that I got a boost in viewership for 10, 20 minutes, and then the boost ended and it just went back to normal. Um, I don't know if this is going to help on other, you know, personally, I didn't see much benefit to this at all, right? And that's not to say I'm complaining, because absolutely, if it gives me a boost to my channel in any way, shape, or form, that's very helpful. But I'm wondering how many people are really jumping on this and looking at promoted channels and seeing it, because in my experience, if I've seen partnered streamers that I watch that have had time on the front page, and what I've noticed, and from listening to other people talk about this who were on the front page a lot, is that yes, it bumps your numbers up for your viewership, but your community engagement remains a lot the same. It's almost like you've just got a lot of lurkers suddenly appear in the channel to bump the numbers up. It almost feels disingenuous. Does that make sense?
Well,
Um,
I would imagine because it's an embedded video, if somebody's scrolling past that,
it's gonna
even if
count.
they like yeah, even if they hover over it and the preview starts like ticking along, I would imagine that would count as a viewer, even though they're not physically in your chat.
Yeah,
So it could be somebody literally just scrolling, and because the mouse accidentally hits over it and like the stream starts to play, that could count
that
as a
counts as a
viewer.
view. It felt very much like and again, I don't want it to be. I'm not complaining at all, because I think anything Twitch can do to try and help discoverability for channels is great. We all know Twitch has no discoverability, and it's a cool thing that they can try and do to help. But yeah, it was bizarre. You know, I've known channels that maybe average 200-300 viewers that were then put on the front page and had 4,000 or 5,000 viewers that day, but their chat seemed largely the exact same as it always was. And I've listened to other streamers talk about requesting to be removed from the front page because they just didn't like that feeling of like, it's almost like you've got just
Like a
almost like
bot in
view
your chat.
bots. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's interesting. I was kind of hoping to see more of a, an effect from it. Maybe as time goes on, it will be more beneficial to other people. I know someone in chat said as well, the number of, the goal for the channel points is based on channel size and average viewers. That was my understanding as well. But before it actually went live, me and a couple of people in my community kind of worked out based on other channels we'd seen. So we saw one channel with X amount of average viewers, and their goal was X amount of points. So looking at that and working it out with sort of my channel's metrics, we had an idea of how many points it should be, and the actual goal was significantly less. To me, it seems like it's not actually counting the average views of a channel or the size of a channel, purely based on the fact that you've got 2 days, you've got 48 hours to hit this goal, and every single time it's been done in 10 minutes in my channel. That seems like it's too low of a goal for channel points.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a good thing, because that means then there's not a whole lot of stress to try and hit that goal before your time runs out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I feel your frustration, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. So what you're saying does suck, like the fact that it feels like the there is a maybe not a promise, but there is the hope that this will somehow lead to greater engagement. And I think Cyber is 100% right. I think that embedded views are probably being counted towards that. That's why you're not really seeing any difference in your chat. Um, and I'm sure that the ones that like are actually promoted up to the carousel probably see tons of viewers added to that channel as viewers, but they're not actually viewing.
Yeah.
They're just maybe idling on the main screen. Um, However, you have to kind of look at it this way, or at least I think I try to think about it this way. It's almost like it's like one step shy of getting a raid, because with a raid, you have an embedded audience that is being ported over from channel A to channel B, and with that raid happening, people are physically being shunted into a new stream and they had and as we all know, usually raid happens, you lose like 75% of the raiders like within the first minute or couple minutes, because people were hanging on for the stream that they were watching. It's part of their regular routine, or they've only earmarked so much time into their day, or it just fits in with that other person's schedule. And then the raid happens, and then people click off and do other stuff. So people might hang around. And one of the greatest feelings that you can have is when you do get a huge raid, and then you actually look that like an hour later you've maintained viewer retention. That's what we're all hoping for, right? Like you're hoping that you get rated by X number of people and you kept like more than 50%.
Yeah.
That's huge. Like that says a lot about um not only the like the tone and the temperature of the raiders that came over, but the fact that you were able to connect and vibe with them and then they stayed. That's awesome. Now, if you're seeing this boost happen and you go from like 20 viewers to 40 viewers, I mean, that's basically just like getting, a raid from another channel. You get like 20 some odd people just come in. That's pretty standard. Um, and then it filters off. I guess the question is, with if if with a raid they're actually being in your channel for the time being and actually get to see your face and they hear you and they see your chat, versus if it's potentially counting views off of the home screen as people are scrolling through and looking at promoted material, there is a discrepancy there, because in the sense that like if they're just viewing a thumbnail preview like that big, that's not quite the same as like somebody actually getting brought over into your chat and actually having a moment of exposure with you.
Yeah.
But so that's the bad thing. But then the trade off is like, is it any different than just getting a really tiny small raid where like maybe some people? I mean, because think about it this way, like I encounter raids all the time where it doesn't matter how big the group is. It could be 5 people, it could be like 40 people, and maybe out of all of that, one follower and one person actually engages and sticks around. That's pretty normal. So even if you only get that slight bump off of the boost and the viewership um isn't really like engaged, because maybe they're not actually in your chat but they're just kind of viewing the preview, um like even if you just do get one person to filter in and stick around, I mean, I don't know, I don't see it hurting.
Yeah,
I guess.
I want to be very clear that I'm not complaining about it or saying like, oh, it needs to be better. I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts because I've had the experience happen 3 times and I've seen it and I've now been able to kind of report back on it. I just want to kind of, I guess, set that expectation that it's not going to be this like huge event where you're suddenly getting all these new chatters and everyone's kind of, it's like this big boost, right? Again, I'm obviously there's clearly benefits to it, right? Because even if you are just getting those embedded views and you jump up for a little while, whether or not people are coming in on the front page, you're going to be significantly higher in whatever game directory you're in. And we all know that's a good thing, right? So again, I want to be very clear. I'm absolutely not complaining about it or upset about it in any way. I just kind of want to share my experience that I don't think it's as big of a deal as people might have made it out to be, because it was very much like, oh, you can get boosted on the front page, and front page has certain connotations on Twitch that it's going to be huge, right?
Yeah, thousands of viewers.
Exactly. Again, I've seen channels that average 300 that'll get 4 or 5,000 when they're on front page slots, right?
Yeah.
It's not that level, right? But it is still exposure that other channels can now hit with this boost. It's a cool feature. It's just not this huge big game changer, which I think people hoped it was going to be.
You know what would be crazy is, and I don't think this would ever happen, because I don't know how Twitch goes about deciding who winds up in the carousel featured for that chunk of the day or that hour or whatnot. But can you imagine if they had almost like a hype train level of the boost where, like, let's say your criteria is 16,000 channel points and you have 24 to 48 hours to do it, but like you go over that by like 200, 300%. What if that
Yeah,
actually had the
that's good
potential to
actually.
push you into the carousel? Because let's be honest, like when Condi's talking about like people being on the front page and getting a 300 view count going up to 4,000, we're specifically talking about people being in the carousel.
Yeah.
What happens with these boosts as he started discussing, was that these boosts are not putting you up there. It's just putting you in the first row of recommended channels for you. And there'll be a little rocket icon in the corner. So this is not like an autoplay with sound that happens when you're just on that very first like graphic at the top and you've got that carousel of channels to scroll through. But can you imagine if they had like a hype train feature for the boost where
Yeah.
people could like really go all in and they'd still be limited to their 2K contribution? Like that should still be featured, because if that were the case, then people who have been sitting on channel points forever could just dump everything and they would game the system. But like that would be awesome. I don't think it'll happen though, because it does seem like Twitch tends to use if there's an event going on, if there's a Twitch Rivals thing, if there's a tournament, if there's like let's say there's like a seasonal theme, maybe it's that particular month there's an emphasis on like a social cause or topic. It tends to be like you'll see a rotation of channels in that carousel that are about that thing, whatever they're focused on at that
Yeah.
moment. But if there's a way to somehow dig into that a little bit and just have the potential for channels to appear there, then I think it would have like you'd open up the door for there to be massive impact. But right now, yeah, I think it's like getting a tiny raid from a small channel, and maybe you if you're lucky, fingers crossed, you retain a viewer. But I Hawk Ninja asked in chat something that I just wanted to clarify. He says sometimes he sees channels with only 8 concurrent viewers. Is this due to boost? For me, it seems any channel with under 10 viewers would get pushed to the recommended home screen. So what you're those likely aren't boosted stuff. If you click a directory, let's say you click like Rainbow Siege 6 or Tarkov or Animal Crossing or whatever it may be, and you see like somebody with 1,000 views and then 10 views and then 20 views and then 300 views, and it's like this mishmash. Twitch is just doing that now. They're just randomizing, because before in the past it was like whoever was the highest broadcaster with the most concurrent views in that channel, that's how they were ranked top down. So if you immediately went to a directory, all the top streamers were at the top, and you had to scroll all the way to the bottom through hundreds of channels, if not thousands of channels, to see the people who were actually hosting like 10 people.
Yep.
Now it basically just shakes up the dice and rolls it, and does seem to be a weighted majority of people who are in the top 10% of channels with the most concurrent viewers that are going to be pushed to the top of that directory, but they're not in order. Like, so it's not like first, second, third, fourth, fifth in terms of like concurrent viewership. They just randomly throw in people, and I think it's also
Yeah.
trying to. There's some algorithm behind the scenes that's like also skewing towards your recommendations based on stuff that you've watched. So that stuff, no, it's not boosted. The only time you'll know if it's boosted is it would be on the front page, not if you've dived deep into a directory. And then also there'll be an icon with like a little rocket ship in the corner. It's very small, but it's almost like a watermark. And if you hover over it, it'll like indicate that it's like a boosted channel. So those things that you're seeing, Hawk, are just Twitch trying to shake up the dice and just show you random
Recommended.
streamers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing if they do develop on the system at all, because I think it's a good idea. Again, and I really think Twitch need to do something to add that discoverability for channels, because it's kind of been a well-known thing for a while that if you want to grow on Twitch, you have to grow on other platforms as well to try and get that discoverability. So yeah, I mean, it's good if Twitch can solve that problem. Then I take my hat off to them. Do we want to jump onto the sort of main topic?
Yeah.
Sure.
We've spent more time on this stuff than I expected, but basically, so I have always run my stream on one computer for a long time. I recently decided to upgrade to a dual PC stream, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to
Like
set
the
it up.
rest of your stuff.
So the idea, I guess, is that we're going to kind of go through how to set up a stream. And in this case, with dual PCs. So who wants to.
How do you think? Should we go through how Connie thinks it should be set up, and then Cyber explains
all
how
the
he
ways that
thinks
I'm
it should be
wrong?
set up, or yeah.
So okay, so to kind of, I want to try and give it a bit of an overview for people that don't necessarily stream or maybe just stream on console or whatever, and kind of how they do it. So the way I currently run things, I have one PC, and when I'm playing PC games, I'm both running the game and running the stream all on the one PC, which is effectively sort of doubling up the work that your computer is doing. Not to mention other things you're maybe running, like if you've got Chrome tabs open, which just eat away your RAM, if you've got music playing, if you've got
Please use
Discord
Firefox.
open. I still use Chrome.
Oh my God.
But yeah, like, so I'm running everything on there. Now, sometimes I'll stream console where I capture the console footage through a capture card and into my PC, in which case my PC doesn't have to worry about running a game and it just runs the stream. The plan for me is to have the second PC, which is ordered and it's on its way, which will be running the stream and all that stuff, so that all my PC has to do is focus on running the game, which should mean better performance for the game and hopefully better performance for the stream as well, because then that PC is just focused on that. So the plan for me, I'm going to try and do it as clearly in my head as I can, because I haven't set it up yet. The new PC will have a capture card in it. I'm going to have the old PC running through that capture card into the new PC, just like I would with a console. But I think I'm going to have like my audio input device, my like audio mixer and my microphone and everything all connected to the streaming PC. Yes? No? Yes? I don't know. And then, yeah, basically I'll have like OBS and Discord and things running on the streaming PC, so that it'll be exactly like I'm using my gaming PC like a console. That's how I'm thinking about it.
I feel like we're being incredibly like mean to you right now. It can. It all depends on the interface that you've got. If you've got a Go XLR, it does it for you. Depending on what interface you've got, if it doesn't have an out, like if it doesn't have a line out, you need to figure out how you're gonna deal with the audio interface that way. So does it have a line out on your audio interface?
Well, I mean, yes, but I don't use it.
Are you sure? Because you do not
So,
seem very confident about that.
I have an Mbox 2, which is something I've had for many years from college. It's just like it's an input device with phantom power from my microphone connected through USB to my computer, and then the microphone just goes straight into OBS as a microphone source.
Okay.
And that's how I have it running. So if I was streaming console, I have everything on my PC, and then all I do is take the console footage into OBS through a capture card. So my way of thinking is that it will be the exact same. Everything will run on the stream PC except the game, which will run on my gaming PC and just go in through a capture card. That's how I'm thinking about it. But I really need to get it set up and sit down and plug everything in to understand it. You know, like thinking about it in my head is confusing me. But
So-
you guys are the experts, so.
So in theory, basically what you're saying is you're gonna run everything as normal, right? Even audio wise, and you're gonna somehow send the signal from your gaming PC using your desktop audio to your streaming PC and hope that it works.
Well, so no, because I
I'm not
imagine
saying that's the wrong thing. I'm just
I'm imagining that I'll have my audio sources in the streaming PC, like the
Okay.
microphone and Discord and things like that. But then any audio from the gaming PC will come through the capture card, just like if I was streaming console right now. So the only
So-
thing from the gaming PC that's going into the streaming PC is the game footage and the game audio.
And the one thing you're leaving out, Condi, that you explained to us earlier is that you have, in your specific case, you have a headset that can pick up two audio sources. So
that's what I
you're
was
su-
trying to get at.
You're
Right.
suggesting that you're going to pick up audio. One of those sources is going to be audio that you're picking up via the stream PC. So that's going to be your Discord etc. And then you're going to be picking up the game audio from the game PC. But that obviously only works for you in your situation, because people who don't have an Astro or don't have that would it's yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So like I'm gonna just say a little thing and then sort of jump out of the conversation, because I know Cyber has stuff to do wants to say. But basically, to anyone listening at home, if it sounds like ambiguous about like what you should do or what you could do or what Condi could even do, here's the thing: there's so many different ways to do it. Um, there isn't exactly a wrong way, but there are best practices. And Cyber, I know, has some strong opinions in terms of like how he thinks Condi should do his setup. And I think that I what I do currently and what works for me and what I think works great is still going to be a little different than Cyber would do it. So like, but again, I just, as a disclaimer, Condi's Condi's situation is in part going to be specific because of like A, the hardware he's got on board, and B, what he has in mind in terms of how he wants to prioritize, the video and the audio input. And you just have to recognize that that may not be the same for you in your circumstances. So hardware is going to matter a lot,
Yep.
especially because he's doing an internal capture card. I do my dual PC with an external capture card. So anyway, Cyber, take it away.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Dale jumping on the meme that I could cuddle Condi like a small baby ferret.
They're not both tall and long, though.
Well, I've heard some rumors about Condi, but what Grog says is 100% correct. It all depends on the hardware that you have available. The bigger and better tech that you have, it can become very easier. Because like the Go XLR will do everything for you. It even installs all of the virtual audio cables by itself, and it's really easy. What I was trying to get at, I am 100% certain that you will have a line out on that audio interface, and it'll make things so much easier, because you can do exactly what you've said, because we all know that like you're a technophobe when it comes to shit like that, and you want to keep it simple, which is fine. Some people want to keep it complicated, you want to keep it simple. That works for you. It's 100% like fine. If you
Scuffed. I
can
prefer the term scuffed, but yes.
with you only having like one audio source on your OBS, it freaks me the fuck out. I have like 8 different ones.
There's advantages. So without even getting into the metrics of like how, like you have hardware configuration A versus hardware configuration B, etc. Just talking about a dual stream setup, one of the biggest advantages for having a dual PC setup, as Condi already mentioned, is you're not burdening one machine to do both the encoding for the stream and to help churn away at processing the game, as well as any other apps you've got running, Spotify, Discord, etc. Here's the thing, though, is that Cyber's right. Having more audio sources or having more sources available to you, depending on what kind of hardware setup you've got, if you can break your audio up into chunks and pieces, it does allow you to do cool stuff. We've talked about on the channel before about how you can do things like audio ducking, where let's say you're playing a game and it's very loud. You're playing a shooter, or there's explosions, or there's just like auditory effects that are present throughout the game that are fairly consistent, and you have either team commentary or you're giving running dialogue of what you're doing in that moment. If you have multiple sources, let's say you have in your OBS, you have a audio source that is your game, and you have an audio source that is your microphone, and then you have an audio source that is maybe even pulling in something else, Discord, what have you. The cool thing is you can set up lots of little hooks where, through things like audio ducking, you can make it so that when you talk, everything over a certain decibel level, over a certain volume, is going to take precedent over all of the other audio channels. So you can even set it up so that those things get buried into the mix. So for example, like in mine, it took a lot of tinkering and tuning, but like I have no problem talking over, like basically hitting mute on myself and talking over people that are in my Discord that I'm in a team with, knowing that my voice will always be heard to chat. And so sometimes if they're having like side banter that is unrelated to like me, or just they're having their own conversation, or I just need to say something quick, I know that I can hit mute, I can talk. And because I have different channels, different sources set up, basically I can prioritize what is going to be the focus for the stream so that the viewers always are going to get my audio first and foremost because I've given that priority. You lose some of that flexibility when you only have one audio um
Input.
output, or
Yeah.
yeah, because then it's all one layer. So then you're limited to just doing things like deafen, because like if Cyber and I are having a conversation with Condi, and then we go off on a tangent or we start making a joke about something, and he needs to respond to chat, his only real recourse is, yeah, he could mute, but when he mutes, chat's going to hear us at the same level as him, and then it becomes muddied and it doesn't quite work. Um, but if you broke those out into different sources, you can set things up in such a way that like it just gets shoved down into the mix, and then a few hundred milliseconds later it like comes back up into the mix. And you can do that for your music too, so you can make it so that you're not talking over your music that's accompanying the game. You can make it so that you're not even trying to talk over the game itself. Everything just slides under your microphone so that your voice and presence is always at the forefront. That kind of stuff is fucking tedious to do, but it's one of the things that having, you could have a thing like GoXLR, or you could have something like the Elgato Wave microphone, where basically you've got these soundboards that are allowing you to make some of these changes on the side. But you don't. But those are expensive, and you don't have to have them. But the only way that you can get that level of control is by having lots of options in your media sources in terms of how you can balance them. So
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning as well as one of the very first things I noticed watching your stream, Grog, was the audio ducking. You know, when you had music playing and every time you spoke, you could hear the music dip down so that your voice was nice and clear. And when you're finished what you're saying, it just comes right back up. And see, it's really bad because I studied audio engineering at college. Like, so I know about all this stuff. I'm just too lazy to do it.
but why? But Condi, why would you just? I know this is the part where I should let Cyber yell at you, but like, why would you just want one desktop source? Like, why would you want that?
Because
if
so
you
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. Because when I first started streaming, it worked, and I have always been of the mindset that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm like,
so
I'm
so
gonna
you
make
are
it worse if I try and mess with it.
right. Okay, so let's put that statement to the side, right? You are getting a brand new streaming PC set it up correctly,
Mm-hmm.
so that when you do it once, it's going to be future proofed for the next 5 to 10 years, right? You will always have those settings, and you
Or
just need to
one
keep
Windows
them.
update,
Yeah, true.
whichever comes first.
True.
Because you see the level of production quality that you have with the likes of Grog Stream, where it you don't really notice it. The only reason you probably noticed it is because you've been through either a section in your college course where they've talked about that and you went, fuck, that's audio ducking. That sounds really good. But to the untrained ear, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But at the same time you do. You understand that his stream sounds better than the majority of others, and you can't quite understand why. It just is. But that's because he spent all that time getting it perfect. And it's almost, for a lack of a better term, like a subconscious production value that he inputs into people. So please set it up correctly.
I will.
Otherwise
I
I'm gonna
will.
come around and fight you. But that's not the overlining point. You will have to understand that if you are taking everything from your gaming PC and shunting it into your stream PC, there's nothing that you can do with it afterwards if you're using that audio interface. It's going to be one combined audio source. So the issue that you're going to have is which PC you're going to have Discord on,
Mm-hmm.
and which PC you're going to have a microphone filtering through. So if you have your microphone going through your stream PC and you have Discord on there, right? You will not be able to use your microphone in game using that
Yes.
audio interface. So you need to be careful with like conflicts of interest there.
that's one thing that I was aware of as well, and I don't know how to solve that problem. I imagine there is a way, but
Um,
I don't know.
there is. It, it depends on the audio interface, but you do get line outs for microphones as well, and it's just a simple input jack. So you could plug that straight in. So you could have the quality of this microphone going through your audio interface and going into your streaming PC, but at the same time have an external signal going into your PC.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fidgeting.
One way to think about it, Condi, is rather than try and do the mental gymnastics right now of like piecing together the flow chart of what Cyber is discussing, maybe also just think of it this way: what what do you want to have lumped together? What do you want separate? For me and my channel, I have desktop, which is just the stream PC desktop. I have I have one source that is the game audio and the Discord audio. And then I have another source that is my microphone. Those are really my three big things that I'm working with. I don't mind having Discord. And the reason why I say look at it this way is think about how you want to bundle things together and how that will allow you to balance them, because there will be hardware and software techniques that you can use to achieve your end desire, and without having to figure out like the mechanicals first. Trying to figure out the mechanicals first can be really confusing. There are easier ways to explain how to get to what you want by just simply deciding up front, this is what I want. So like, for example, for me, I like having Discord and the game audio together on one source, and my microphone should always be a separate source in of itself, because that is going to allow you the best fidelity for the stream. Because you think about it this way: game audio is important. People watch the chat, they need to see what's happening, they need to know what's happening in terms of like, you shoot a gun, it goes off at the right time, explosions happen, they hear teammates, all that stuff. It adds to the experience. But when someone tunes in for the channel, one massive chunk of why people are there is to see the gameplay. The other massive chunk is they're there for you. They're there to listen to you, and they're there to engage with you. And your biggest means of engagement is going to be your voice. So your voice and your microphone should absolutely be a separate layer that you have absolute control over. Because and I'm really just saying this for the people, like at home, or the people who are listening to this later, audio ducking is really just you saying, hey, computer, I would like to give priority to this input, i.e., the microphone. And I'd like to say that when audio is coming over this input, that everything else kind of like shies away and falls back into the mix for X amount of time, or by X amount of volume, and then it just kind of comes back. But you can't do that unless you give like full priority to one thing. So for me, my game audio, my Discord, they can be together because I can set my Discord levels separate from my game levels. You can already do that because you just pop open the cog for Discord and just drag and drop accordingly. So like for me, I want the game audio and my teammates to kind of like slip underneath my microphone when I'm talking, because that's the point, that it's your channel.
Yeah.
You should be the focus. Um, but if you just have desktop, ooh, buddy, it's gonna be hard.
You're right. So okay, so let's try and turn this into a way that's valuable for not just me and for anyone that's possibly listening. Is there
Yeah.
any software or anything that you would recommend to help split out your audio sources or anything like that?
So
Or just
I have
through
some
OBS?
suggestions. I have some suggestions that are software based, and Cyber has a Go XLR, and he can speak more to like maybe the hardware end of things as well as some of the software stuff. But for me, um, I use Voicemeeter Banana, but I actually don't use Voicemeeter Banana for what most people think I'm using it for, and I'll get to that in a second. But for me, for splitting up my audio and passing it from one computer to another, there is a free tool called NDI. That's N as in Nancy, D as in David, I as in India. And if it's called NDI Tools, it's free to download. There's a bunch of NDI tools, but let me just grab specifically the name for the one that you want. It is NDI screen capture. Now, I actually don't use it for doing any screen capture. I have a capture card for that. But the NDI screen capture tool also allows you to grab audio, and it allows you to do audio with basically no latency. So what I do is I have, if you are on a local network and you have your computers running over Ethernet, which is really the only situation I would recommend this. If you're broadcasting and doing your stream over Wi-Fi, it's a whole separate kettle of fish, but and you're going to run into a whole separate host of issues. But NDI is really meant for you having multiple computers on one Ethernet line, or sorry, over Ethernet on one network. And basically, I can pass audio from one to the other. So on my game PC, I have this NDI tool. It launches immediately when I start up my computer. And then on my stream PC in OBS, there is a plugin that you can install for NDI specifically that Streamlabs, Streamlabs and OBS have designed to work with both of their systems. And basically, it treats it as a new audio source. So anything that is coming off of my main computer is being sent out through one channel over NDI. It's picked up as a source, and I can use it just like I have physical hardware connecting them because the latency is basically nil. It's great. Now, some people do that same thing, but with voice meter. The difference is with NDI, you set it up on one computer. So whichever computer you're looking to pass audio like from to like something else, doesn't matter which direction you want to send it, but ideally you're sending it from your game PC to your stream PC. With voice meter, you need to have voice meter installed on two computers. You also need to look up the IP address for each computer on your network. You also need to then basically manually link the voice meter from computer A to the voice meter from computer B and say, hey, I want you to pass the audio from here to here. NDI is just automatic detection. I think voice meter is clunky for passing audio between two machines. The only reason why I use voice meter is because for anyone who does content creation and does image and video capturing for, say, YouTube or TikTok or whatever, is NVIDIA Highlight, when it saves material, it saves your whatever your output source is for your computer. It saves everything. So
Like
when
the
you hit
default.
default, whatever your default is, if you have like a cool play and you're popping off and you're listening to whatever, you know, pop music in the background that is unlicensed, or you have teammates, shouting call outs, um, later when you go to look at that recording, everything that was happening in that moment is saved. The game audio, your Discord, your Spotify, you name it, it's all saved. With voice meter, there's creative ways that I'm not going to talk about here, but basically voice meter, you can use virtual cables to make it so that you basically are outputting your Spotify, your Discord, your basically all of your non-game related stuff to a set of virtual cables that are then routed to your headset and or to your speakers, and so that when Nvidia saves these clips, it can only save game audio. It is physically incapable of saving anything else. I use voice meter for simply tailoring the way audio is ported around my game computer, just so that I can like avoid having any additional uh, audio tracks that aren't part of the game. But voice meter is capable of passing in between two computers. I think it's a little clunkier, and I think NDI is my preference. But then there's also simply you could just do a line, an 1/8-inch audio line out to the line in, and just from one sound card to another. You could do that too as a single cable. But Cyber's got other good suggestions.
Well, just to kind of point out, with all the cool integrations that Grog was talking about, where it's all software based, you can actually get hardware that does all that for you. You do have certain limitations where, depending on like what device you've actually got, it doesn't allow you to do as much with what Grog was talking about. But one of the notable things that came out last year was the Go XLR. I have it, I love it. It sets up automatically 8 different virtual audio cables that it automatically sets for you. And like I didn't even need to do anything. Spotify was automatically rerouted to music. The desktop audio was automatically routed to system. Every new game that I install, it always asks me, where do you want this audio to be passed through? Technically, it has 9 because it has this one, which is also another feature where it automatically ducks. So if I'm talking while I'm you can only hear the beep. So built within this, it has automatic ducking that you can all set up. Um,
Just real quick,
and
anybody who's listening to like this on the audio version on Spotify later is gonna be like, "What did he say? Why did they
well,
bleep that?"
the thing is, you can have cool things like
Sharks or fish?
it can automatically set up things like that. And it's one of the things that's really handy with this is not only does it have the software capability, but it also has the hardware capability. So on the back you have two line ins and line outs for not only a normal audio, but it also has it for your microphone. So it makes splitting up your audio very easy for sending it to two stream, like for a gaming PC and a stream PC, so you can hear it on everything. If you don't have something with the capability of this, you are seriously limiting yourself to having a stream PC and having to reroute all of the audio, but it's not impossible. It just means that you have to go through a few more jumps, a few more loopholes, maybe a few more cables, and you can make it work. Devices like this just make it easy. I'm
They
not
just
saying that.
simplify your life. I mean,
Yeah,
like three out of five of us have Go XLRs.
I
Like
think
you,
so.
Cyber, and
Humps.
He is cyber.
Jesus Christ.
I knew what you meant.
You kibbles and humps.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you guys all have Go XLRs and you all love them. I've heard nothing. Everyone who has one is just like it's just like A plus plus eBay reviews. Like people are just like gushing over how much they love their Go XLRs. And for a little while, I was even considering. I thought you did have a Go XLR,
I
Kibbles.
thought he did too, but maybe he
You
didn't.
whatever. Anyway, but like I don't know why I'm disappointed in you now, but I am. But like the thing is that I've heard nothing but praise, and everyone who's ever had one, gotten it set up, has said it's brilliant. Um, However, there is a price tag.
Yeah.
About what's the ballpark for a Go XLR?
I want to say maybe 250.
Too much
Because
for me, who's just bought a new computer. Too much for me.
it is, but it could also be a good investment for the future. Like obviously you don't need to have it now. You could set it up the exact same way that Grog's done it, and then in the future, if you do see like notable like issues with your stream where you think, fuck, I wish I could have been able to like turn down my microphone and then turn it back up again, you know, you can physically do that with the hardware that's in front of you. But if you wanted to do it on just software based, you would have to either have a hotkey to manually turn it up or physically move your mouse to turn it up. That's really the only advantage that a piece of hardware like this has. You can still do that through the software. If I wanted to turn my microphone, sorry, if Grog wanted to turn his microphone down, he could. He would just click on it, change the slider, boom, done. I just physically have it in front of me where I can change it on the fly.
It's down to it's part of it's down to preference, and part of it is transcends preference and is just down to you can spend a little extra money to have hardware that like simplifies and streamlines the process to the point where it makes it dead simple. None of us have one, but as CK in chat points out, he has an Elgato Wave. We know other content creators within our sort of circle of friends who have an Elgato Wave. Basically, it has a software backend that it runs an application that is specific to being paired with that microphone that is effectively a digital version of the Go XLR. It does all of the audio channel splitting and all of the bells and whistles that the Go XLR does. It just does them through a visual interface that's on the computer that you could manage on whichever PC you end up setting your mic on. And I've heard nothing but great things about that as well. And it seems like for people who wish to go to the hardware route, and again, this is not an ad. We're not sponsored by anybody, but like honestly, I don't know of any other like regular suggestions that I see other than Go XLR or Elgato Wave as your hardware choices for streamlining this process. Um, there's a million ways to skin the cat for software. The way I've done it, where like my setup is, I have a game PC, I have Discord on my game PC, I can play Spotify on either PC. It doesn't matter for my setup, but basically Discord and game audio are shunted over to the stream PC via NDI. So that's just over the Ethernet in real time. I get this pretty much lossless, low latency signal that is automatically picked up by OBS. And then on the stream PC, um, I'm running Opera as a web browser, so to look at the Twitch dashboard. I'm running usually Spotify, and I'm also running Streamlabs, or it could be OBS if you're not using Streamlabs. And that's what I do. But the thing is, that's just what I do. And like there are some sacrifices. I have my microphone hooked up to my stream PC. I have the really nice microphone that you're hearing me on now. I could have that also integrated with the Discord that I'm using, but that would require me to have Discord on, well, it would require me to do creative things with Discord. And honestly, it's simpler when I'm in a game with friends. I just flip down the boom mic and I just talk over the boom mic via my headset to other people on my team because frankly, I'm not that worried about the fidelity of I mean, I worry to a degree, but I'm not worried about that much about the fidelity of how I sound on Condi's channel or Cyber's channel because frankly, I'm not the focus of their channel. They are. It's their party. It's their show, right? And as long as you have a microphone that isn't cracking, popping, that you're not overly loud, as long as you don't sound obnoxious, I don't need to have, S tier game audio just to be in someone's fire team to do a raid.
Yeah.
But I should have S tier, top notch, amazing audio for my chat. And so that's why I've prioritized that. Now people do have setups. If you watch big streamers, you'll hear, I mean, like, I know I feel like I reference them as much as DMCA, fucking Nick Merckx and Tim the Tatman. It's just another example of like people that play together, big personalities on Twitch, and they, when you hear each other over the other's chat, like if you're listening to Nick Merckx and Tim's, or you're listening to Tim and Nick Merckx, you're hearing the same audio over Discord that their chat is hearing in their own streams, and it sounds brilliant. You can do that. There's just more work to do, and that's the line that I drew for myself, where like I frankly don't care. So there's, again, I just don't want anyone to think that like for a dual PC setup there's a right or a wrong way. There are just preferential ways to do it, and some of it will be limited to your budget, and some of it will just be limited to your just desire for control. You could just have one system's desktop audio and that's it. And as Condi said, technically there's nothing wrong with that. If it's not broken and it works, why fix it? You're just limiting yourself to what you can do later, and that in of itself could be the thing that you kick yourself over, like, I wish I had invested the time, because now that I know what I could do, I'm not doing it, and now it feels like it's too overwhelming. The only other thing that Cyber didn't point out before he stepped away with the Go XLR is that it allows you to future-proof things where you also can move to an XLR setup. We've only been talking so far about like just kind of the mechanics of getting these things linked together, but like I'm using a USB microphone. I think it sounds pretty good, but like if you want like a dynamic microphone, or you want like a really fancy Rode or Shure microphone, or you want to go like the route of like one of the really fancy like Kiwi microphones from like Yeti, like you need something like a Go XLR, because you actually need to be able to patch the XLR cables into something that can then be hooked up to a computer. That is a huge benefit for having that type of hardware. But you have to think, do this in stages. You could do the software side setup of connecting these things together now, invest in a Go XLR later while still using a USB mic, later upgrade to an XLR microphone. Like, don't go off the deep end throwing money at
Yeah,
things. And this is me talking to Chad. This is not me talking to Condi because Condi already knows all this.
I already went off the
But
deep end. It's fine. I'm already a lost cause.
Well, I mean, there's so much more stuff that you could buy.
The thing is, again, it's something that we've always preached, which is that, like, don't decide, hey, I'm gonna start streaming on Twitch and go out and spend 2 or 3 grand on gear right away, right? Because I've personally seen it happen. I'm sure you guys have as well. People way overinvest and then they realize, oh, this isn't as fun or as easy as I thought it would be, and then they're stuck with all this equipment that they've invested in that is really getting used, right? There's, I've done it maybe slower than I should, where I, have spent a long time very slowly building up my setup, whether that is through physical hardware or just with my scuffed settings on stream. It's taken a long time, and even upgrading to a dual PC stream is something I've spoken about for like over a year at this point. And that's partly because I didn't necessarily want to invest the money in it straight away, and also because it's just that whole process of relearning everything. But now that it's kind of in front of me, I'm actually very excited to start over and kind of set up fresh and learn it all again. And you are right. I need to, maybe advance myself and my stream a little bit with the new possibilities that are open to me. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, by all means, you do not need this. At the end of the day, my absolute first thing is, content. If your content's good, look at XQC, right? XQC is arguably the biggest streamer on the platform now. He doesn't have any fancy overlays. He just has the same webcam as me, a box on his screen, and he just sits there and slams his desk and plays his games, and people love him, right? He is, again, I think the biggest streamer on Twitch right now, when he doesn't need to have all this crazy stuff. And so your top priority is just make good content. If you can invest in decent-ish audio to get you started, great. But this is something that builds up over time.
I think one of the things that you've mentioned the most, Condi, that I think people that I take to heart, and I think other people should take to heart, is the fact that, like, when you make upgrades to your studio, your room, whatever your setup is, think about what's important to improve the quality of the experience for the stream and for the chat. Because fundamentally, there's things that are nice to haves for you, the streamer, and there's things that are love to haves for chat. You want chat to have high quality, video. You want them to have low latency. You want them to have great audio. What you bring to the channel, like Condi said, like your content, that's a whole separate thing, which it's like, if you don't have good content, it's like that's different conversation that you need to be having.
Yeah.
But in terms of your setup, you could buy plenty of fancy doodads and things that make your office, like, I mean, you could buy LED light stripping and all this other shit, but it's like, if it doesn't actually make you sound better and it doesn't make the stream look and feel better, what's it for? I think that I'm with Condi in that. He's said it before in the podcast, and he said it this morning when we were talking. And I think that investments to your channel that improve the quality of the channel overall are going to be far and away better than the little things behind the scenes that you do just in your own office. But it depends on what your priorities are. If you're not trying to make a career out of this and it is just a thing that you do casually, then fucking splurge away on all the things that are going to make it fun for you, the player. But if you are looking to do this in a way that you're thinking about the long term and growth, think about your investments in such a way that, like, you're not just diving straight into the deep end with the most expensive tech possible, because maybe you won't want to do this in the long term. But in the short term, you can be picky and choosy about how you want to do it, because you don't need to go a pure hardware route and you don't need to go a pure software route. You could use them piecemeal, go from one to the other. Probably, I mean, in that sense, it's almost always going to be you start out with free or freeware, or like low cost software, and then you go to more expensive hardware, and probably not the other way around. But yeah, don't I don't know, just make sensible decisions. But I think, like, Condi, your setup's going to be good. I think the thing that like is going to benefit you the most is the fact that you're not going to be in a position where, like, I know that with your when you play Warzone or certain like games where you have to restart it from time to time, one of the biggest assets that I can make, like one of the biggest assets I see, and the argument I would make for having a dual PC setup, if you can swing it, because again, you don't need it, is if you run into issues with a game and it hard crashes, or you got to restart or reset, the stream doesn't go down. The stream stays up.
My
You're
PC
and
blue
especially
screened yesterday,
yeah,
and
and
I
if
bet
you
if
have
that
your
happens on stream, the whole stream's done. Whereas if you've got the dual and the gaming PC crashes, the stream keeps
exactly.
going. Exactly.
Or
But
let's say a new game comes out and Nvidia launches a driver that is like necessary for fixing critical flaws in that game, and you're like, you've been anticipating it for weeks, you've been hyping up your chat, you're like, this game is about to drop, we're gonna play it, and then you find out like day one there's a patch that has to go through, and you're just like, fuck, I can't do this while streaming, or like it's not gonna work with my setup. It doesn't matter. Like, I have my microphone and my webcam set up to the stream PC. Everything on this computer could crash right now and I'd still be running. I might have a black screen, but it doesn't matter. I can cut to an overlay that like has background imagery or something. Like, you can plan for that kind of stuff, and you can't do that with a single PC setup.
just to highlight something that you just said, Condi, right? That will also influence the decision on how you route everything. Because if you want your stream PC to be able to have your microphone and your webcam running, even if your gaming PC fucks up, so you've literally just put a pathway in your head of exactly how
That
you need
yeah,
to route this.
and that's how I'm thinking about it as well. Like again, I'm thinking when I used to stream on PS4 directly from the console to Twitch. If you want to switch games, you have to take your stream down at the start of the new game, turn the stream back on. Whereas when I started streaming on PC with a capture card, oh well, I can just close the game, open another game, the stream carries on. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it still with the gaming PC. But to kind of come back to what Grog was saying as well, with when you're starting on Twitch and you have that hypothetical shopping list of all the things you want to improve your setup, I always do the same. I put them in categories of, how can I invest my money in a way that's going to help the channel, i.e., create a better experience for the viewers, or how can I invest my money that's going to create a better experience for me? I could go out and buy a fancy keyboard. That doesn't really enhance the viewer's experience at all, right? Or, you know what? I could take that money, instead of investing in a keyboard, I could go and invest in some assets for the stream. Get a video made by an editor, something like that actually helps the viewer. And I have a very kind of almost a very strict split between this is for me and this is for the stream. And I do think it's important to invest in that side of it first, where you're creating a better experience for the chat. The constant thing that I always get ribbed about is that I play on a 60 hertz monitor. And it's like, yeah, there is some argument for having higher frame rates in games and things, but I'm only streaming 60 FPS on Twitch. As far as I know, you can't go above 60 FPS on Twitch. So having a higher refresh rate monitor might be good for me. You could make the argument it might improve my gameplay, but overall, it's not a better experience for the viewer if I'm playing on a higher frame rate or a higher resolution, because it doesn't affect the viewer. The one exception to all of this that I can think of right now is a comfortable chair. A good chair to sit in. Does not affect your viewers, doesn't affect their experience, but my God, it affects you and your ability to sit down for a lot of hours and do things. I mean, I've literally woken up this morning, had a shower, had some breakfast, and sat in this chair for the last 7 or 8 hours, because I'm streaming and then I'm setting up the podcast and then we're doing the podcast. And guess what? I'm going to go and edit after this and get it uploaded and do all that. I'm going to be in this chair for another couple hours. if I was in a crappy chair and I was doing this every day, I couldn't. I physically
Definitely.
couldn't. And I'm not
Get
saying
yourself a good chair.
yeah.
Treat your ass.
The argument I've always heard, and you don't have to go out and spend hundreds on whatever. Just make sure you've got a good chair that's going to support your back, because you know I'm not getting any younger, right? And it's gonna end up hurting myself. I used to sit on the very edge of a couch, like one of those L-shaped couches, right? And I had this tiny little desk and one monitor and my PlayStation, and I would sit on the end of the desk with no back support at all and play for hours and stream, and it fucked up my back something terrible, right? And you know, I see these arguments of like, you know, you can invest in like, you know, people have no issues paying like hundreds for a mattress because they're spending a large portion of their life asleep on that mattress and they want to make sure their back is supported. If you're doing content creation, even part-time, and you're spending a lot of hours in front of your computer, why not invest a little bit to look after yourself? Because you're gonna hurt yourself if you're spending as many hours on a crappy chair. So that's just my other thing, is that, you know, out of that rule, I think having a good this has turned into like a look after your back, because you know but I like genuinely I think that's the kind of the one exception where this doesn't benefit the viewers, it doesn't improve their experience, but like it's important to invest in. It's something comfortable to sit in. Don't sit on the end of a couch like I did for years and really hurt yourself. Do we have any other kind of thoughts on this? I mean, it's difficult until I actually get it set up for me to talk much about it, I guess.
Just know that you've got people that have got, no offense, more experience of shit going wrong and knowing how to fix it. So don't be afraid to ask for help, please. Because
Oh, I will.
if I find out you've got one audio source on a brand new streaming PC, I know where you live. Dale will let me in, and I will beat you.
Let's not run before we can walk. I just want to get it set up. I think it's going to be a few weeks till the PC is even here. And there may be a period of several days where I just go dark from the internet and just try and get this set up. Nobody knows about my secret test channel, so there'll probably be a lot of streams on there to just make sure everything's working. But I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to just relearning OBS and trying to get it all working. Trial and error, yay. All right, we've kind of ran, I would say, decently long here, so let's wrap up. Cyber, where can everyone find you, and what do you want to plug for this upcoming week?
You can find me on all major platforms: Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, the Cyber Project. That may change in the future. I want to ditch the out of my name, but every fucking name is taken on Twitch. So I'm trying to find something that fits with the brand and all that shit. Until that day happens, it will be the Cyber Project. You will find me on Tuesday and Thursday, probably playing Tarkov. There was a recent wipe, so everyone has started fresh. Managed to rope Nixie into that, so we'll probably get some games together, and planning for the move to Canada. So yeah,
Cool.
And that's in March?
fingers crossed. Brexit obviously just happened, so fuck knows how that's gonna affect us.
I just hope that we have a chance to actually go out for a beer before you leave.
I'll just show up.
Well, yeah.
I know where you live.
live.
I'll just be in your garden.
It's kind of threatening. You've said that to me like 4 times today. I don't know how to feel about it.
Because you haven't given me a rise out of it. That's why I keep bringing it up.
All right, Grog, where can everyone find you, and what do you want to plug?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/grogmode. You can find me on other platforms like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, etc. at gamer_grog. And yeah, I stream 5 days a week. 4 of those days, Monday through Thursday, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That's 4:30 p.m. UK. I stream usually 6 or 7 hours. Been doing some Cyberpunk, a lot of Call of Duty, lots of Warzone, and also just I love having ridiculous banter with people. So sometimes we just also go off onto tangents, especially when I can get Ginger into chat with me and we just like have fun, just hanging out, being friends. Otherwise, Saturdays I do a stream starting at the same time with my wife, Arcade Riot. We stream sort of like narrative stories / puzzly kind of games. We're doing some mystery stuff. We're on kind of a mystery kick right now, so you can feel free to check us out there too. What about you,
Cool.
Candy?
Thank you. Yeah, you can find me everywhere at CondiFly, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. I've decided I'm taking a break from Destiny 2. Don't know how long for, but I just feel like I've kind of got everything I can out of that game right now. So I'm going to be probably tagging along with you on some Call of Duty more often now, Grog, if you'll have me, of course.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And we've been messing around with a few other games. Obviously, we played GTFO, which was a blast. I want to do more of that. And then just kind of wherever the wind takes me, really. Have some videos coming up. We're working on some stuff. So, yeah, all that good stuff. But more importantly, thank you for watching the podcast, everybody. If you are watching live in chat, we thank you for being here. Your input is always very much appreciated. Again, if you are not listening or not watching live and you're on one of the audio platforms, feel free to come by the stream. It's always a good time. There's a lot of good information going back and forward in chat, good questions and things like that. So come and get involved. Twitch.tv/Zero Strategy Podcast. We also are on Twitter at Zero Strategy Pod. So feel free to tweet at us with questions or topics if you have them. And yeah, if you're watching the stream and you like what you see, you can find the full backlog on YouTube and on Spotify. YouTube, we also do upload our off-topic episodes. So we had this past week the first off-topic, which was Never Have I Ever with alcohol. Or some of us had alcohol.
A lot of alcohol.
Which is a good laugh. It's on YouTube. If you're interested, feel free to go and check out. We will also be uploading, I believe you said, we think tomorrow for episode 2 off-topic. Yeah, so that should be going up tomorrow. Keep an eye on the YouTube sub box for that. But we played Jackbox, and we did some magic with the setup on that stream to try and make it a good viewing experience. I think it went really well, actually. That was one that I enjoyed setting up. So that will be on there. Go and check it out. We are going to go and raid someone, so please do stick around for that. We can pass on some love. We will see you guys next week. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, Happy New Year. I hope 2021 is a good one for you guys.
Mwah.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.